Hello again. I pasted in an email that I sent earlier this week to Southwark Crown Court and representatives of John Dance and also the legal team at Northumbria Police, outlining uh, the coordinated coercion that I'd suffered and how this has culminated in the police state terror overseen by Northumbria Police, and the overlap between the work that I'd been doing on WealthTek and this corrosive conflict of interest between the FCA as a regulator prosecutor, and also the um, the work into um, the quite appalling trade in vulnerable people, mainly children, with private equity owned agencies, and how this leads into the financial system and is related in some way to the promotion of private assets to potentially retail investors via defined contribution pension schemes and other collective investment plans and so on. I think in some ways, if you look at something like the what they call the Starkey thesis, David Starkey, the historian. He's quite clever and makes his points quite well. But he's got a thesis where a lot of Britain's problems relate to the constitutional almost vandalism of the Tony Blair government, where he sort of created a system where power and accountability was sucked out of Parliament and ended into and sort of diverted into authorities, agencies, judges, um, essentially fairly unaccountable, non-elected entities and people, and the destruction that's had on Britain. And the my experiences pretty much embody that, because you have the FCA being on the one side, where you've got this irreconcilable conflict of interest between being a regulator and a prosecutor, where you've got you know, scenarios where the welfare of the victims of financial scandals are subordinated to the upholding the reputation of the regulator, and how this leads to the people who ultimately fund them experiencing very poor outcomes in scandals, and particularly those scandals where they've been negligent. And WealthTek and Woodford are obvious examples of that. There has to be a complete separation between the regulatory arm and the prosecuting arm, um, because you can't allow a regulator to use that conflict of interest to obfuscate away any accountability. And you can't allow a government to um, you know have an ambition to grow the economy via the financial markets, which is a very logical objective, but you can't allow that to be at the expense of the victims of scandals, and suppressing any accountability. And yeah, the other side would be judges, which is what we've seen in terms of these appalling corruption and abuse in the family court system and the care system, where judges are able to operate behind closed doors with great levels of opacity, without any accountability, and make life-changing decisions. And in case of our situation, where Rachel Hudson accepted um, falsified, unsigned key evidence, and completely ignored the importance of our daughter's heritage, Polish heritage, and allowed that to be stamped out. So she could be rammed into this long-term care stroke long-term cash generation model that feeds private equity so well. and to sew cases up where children aren't allowed to be reconciled with their families even where they want to. And that's what I'll be spending quite a lot of time when I get back to the you know the videos I put on the case, showing how evidence is falsified and sewn up to feed this appalling uh, business model. Um, to give you some perspective, only yesterday, my wife received a quite a threatening call from Deirdre Ryan of South Tyneside Council, and related to a letter that she gave our daughter over Christmas, reminding her of the importance of her heritage and how it's important to her life chances, how she can contact the Polish consulate if she wishes to gain support and so on. And my wife received a very threatening call from Deirdre Ryan about that, and that really does epitomise some of the appalling coordinated coercion that I've received as well, very much along the same lines. That's why bringing these out in the public has led to this police state terror. And Britain's done some very, very bad things during my lifetime, whether it be mass murder in Iraq, Afghanistan, to a certain degree Libya, bombing civilian targets very heavily in Serbia and so on, things that I've found very, very hard to reconcile. And I guess more lately, the support role the RAF's played in the genocide in Gaza. And but these things that I've encountered in terms of the financial system, the the conduct of the FCA, and also this appalling trade of children into the arms of private equity, so they can lock into these long-term government-backed cash flows, have really greatly troubled me. And certainly for our daughter as well, I always felt that she would have better life chances in Poland, a country that's more stable, better long-term prospects, and I think the United Kingdom that faces some tremendous challenges, not least social challenges, and that's been stamped out just to based on falsified evidence, just to fit her into, make her almost into a financial asset. Um, our work doesn't just relate to our case. We've had lots of people come to us, ask for help, and said, "Look, we're too frightened. We don't know how to address this." We've had people um, who who've told us if we speak, we'll face great repercussions and so on and so forth. So there's a lot riding on it. That's why we have to do this. We have to stand up for the victims' financial scandal. We have to stand up to this appalling business model in the care and family court system that's been greatly corrupted by this profit motive. So do take a look at the email. I know obviously there's a lot of money at stake, and police state terror is a response to raising difficult issues these days. George Galloway faced it at Gatwick Airport with his wife, and is currently residing outside the country because of that. That's the way things are. But we do have to stand up. We have to stand up to corruption. We have to stand up to wrongdoing. So take care. Bye.